Welcome back. The seminal primetime series program 60 Minutes is getting major backlash for last night's interview with Marjorie Taylor Greene, which gave her a platform to make the claims that she makes, like this one.
Sexualizing children is what pedophiles do to children.
Wow. Okay.
Hey folks, Dale Jackson here today. We've got to talk about deplatforming. This seems to be something that the left in this country is absolutely obsessed with, and some in the media actually agree with. That's right. Deplatforming is not allowing people to speak their mind and be seen, going and actively attempting to suppress them in order to keep their opinions from being heard by people who might agree with them if they actually know the whole story. And it's so weird to hear members of the media talk about this like, A, they don't do it. That's part of a lie. And then the other side is people who fully support it in the American media, as you'll see people like Whoopi Goldberg and others try to make those arguments, and folks on Morning Joe getting upset with this as well. This is all based on Marjorie Taylor Greene having a segment on 60 Minutes, and you'll see, it's as simple as showing one clip, you'll see that it's not like they're being nice to her. Yes, they let her be on 60 Minutes, and then they attacked her nonstop.
And things she says that are over the top, like,
the Democrats are a party of pedophiles.
I would definitely say so. They support grooming children.
They are not pedophiles. Why would you say that?
Democrats support, even Joe Biden, the president himself, supports children being sexualized and having transgender surgeries. Sexualizing children is what pedophiles do to children.
Wow. Okay.
There is absolutely nothing wrong with what Marjorie Taylor Greene is saying here about the left's obsession with transgender and There is absolutely nothing wrong with what Marjorie Taylor Greene is saying here. The left is obsessed with transgenders, and they're obsessed with pretending that drag queens are normal, kids need to be around them, and we might need to give puberty blockers and surgeries and hormones to different kids in order to help them transition to another gender. I don't know what you want to call that, but I call that grooming. And if you don't like that, you need to reevaluate why you're so obsessed with kids knowing about all this stuff and being a part of it. That's just something you need to take up. But of course, people are very upset about this. People like Whoopi Goldberg, who you saw earlier, she can barely stand that somebody would say something like this. This was her immediate face after playing that clip.
Do you agree with critics who say the show is helping to legitimize her ridiculous rhetoric?
That face by Whoopi Goldberg is absolutely amazing because it is so comically stupid. She acts as if she's confused by what Marjorie Taylor Greene is saying, even though what Marjorie Taylor Greene is saying makes complete sense. And they're afraid of that. That's why they believe in deplatforming. Listen to MSNBC's Morning Joe and his knucklehead wife suggest that maybe it's a good idea to allow Republicans to point out that a lot of Democrats seem to be leaning towards being groomers because that will hurt the Republican Party.
If anybody thinks that one of the leading Republicans of the House of Representatives telling America on a top-rated news show that she believes Joe Biden is a pedophile,
come on.
If you think that helps Republicans in the next election in Wisconsin, in Michigan, in Pennsylvania, in Georgia, in Arizona, in every single swing state, even in the Wisconsin Supreme Court case tomorrow, if you don't think that doesn't further tarnish the Republican image nationwide, up and down the ballot, well, you don't know politics. So I think sunlight is the best disinfectant.
Absolutely. So
if you're this easily confused by very common things being said, maybe being part of a news division isn't really for you. Let's give you another example of Leslie Stahl not necessarily being nice to Marjorie Taylor Greene. Listen to their conversation on Ukraine.
let's talk about Ukraine. So you're opposed to giving weapons and aid to help Ukraine fight off the Russians. It strikes me that that's what Putin wants.
I don't really care about what Putin wants. I voted for the first resolution to denounce Putin and Russia's invasion of Ukraine. What I have voted against is funding a war in Ukraine. The entire time I have been saying the United States needs to be pushing for peace in Ukraine, not funding a proxy war with Russia. We can't afford another foreign war.
If we withdraw our aid right now, then Russia will be right up on the Polish border. And that's a NATO country. And if they attack Poland, we'll have to come to their aid.
I've looked. I cannot find anywhere where Putin says he wants to invade Poland.
I'm asking if that doesn't worry you, and that we'll be concerned to the point that almost will be attacked because we're a member of NATO.
We are a member of NATO, and we have a treaty. Ukraine is not a NATO member nation, but look at us now. We are funding a proxy war in Ukraine with Russia. President Biden is committed, and he said he will go as far as he needs to go to defend Ukraine, and Ukraine is not a NATO member nation. So Russia is going in. Russia is fighting this war with Ukraine, not Poland.
What about the argument that if we withdraw our money and our weaponry now, China will read that as weakness? China will say the Americans can't be relied upon, and it might encourage China to invade Taiwan.
Now you're asking what happens if we just pull out of Ukraine?
Right.
Let me ask you a question back. Why can't we push for a peace deal in Ukraine?
But then
why is war the only answer?
The Russians will be rewarded with territory for invading a country.
I'm sorry, Ukraine is not the 51st state of the United States.
No, but is it right to let him attack another country that's not at war with them, and then you say just let them take what they've gotten so far?
It's not about right and wrong, but let me say this, it's not about what's right and wrong in Ukraine, because we're the United States of America. And again, we have mud all over our face, Leslie. We're $31 trillion in debt. We're not defending our own border. We're ignoring our own people's problem.
I don't agree with Marjorie Taylor Greene on Ukraine 100%. I think our obsession with fighting with Russia right now is all based on the 2016 election. And I think that's a really stupid reason to be getting involved with stuff like this. I also think that we are heading towards something we are not going to like at the end because we're handling this so stupidly. And the idea that we need to just write a blank check to Ukraine every couple of weeks, that seems a bit crazy as well, considering all the other issues that we have. So on The View, they start having a conversation about this issue, not Ukraine, but deplatforming people. And it goes about as well as you would think.
When we talk about platforming people that Donald Trump, a president, someone that you kind of have to deal with, or you're truly not addressing it, Marjorie Taylor Greene was elected in a super small Republican district, and from her election in 2020, she lost 60,000 votes in a very small election.
What about the stuff that she did with Kevin McCarthy?
Right.
How about
and she got on committees, but would you argue that the people on those committees, it's not singly her making these decisions? She's one voice
but
in many.
It's more than that. I think the reason people are upset at 60 Minutes is because it's such a respected program. Leslie Stahl is such a respected journalist, and so people hold him up to a high level, and this is not the level that we expect of them.
Agreed.
But to your point, the person who has elevated Marjorie Taylor Greene is Kevin McCarthy.
Yeah.
She was very loyal to him. She stuck with him through the 15, 16, 17, 28 votes that there was to make him speaker. And now she is far more relevant. She is far more elevated because she is one of the top lieutenants of the Speaker of the House.
But not relevant enough to go on. Well, I don't think to pick her. I think you are platforming. You are giving her a louder microphone than she deserves or has earned.
I don't have a problem with her having that platform because I thought she looked like an idiot. And I think a lot of people got to, as per my argument of cameras in the courtroom, let us see what you have to say. And I hate to do this because I think Leslie Stahl is such a great journalist. I wanted statistics and pushbacks. Well, why do you say that? Who have you heard say that? What about this statistic? What about that? I mean, Leslie always got a book full of receipts. Where were they? Where were the receipts? And they weren't anywhere.
Now, I don't know what they're talking about here. There are no receipts to bring to the table on the things Marjorie Taylor Greene is saying, as she is objectively telling the truth. And it is impossible to argue otherwise. That's why they're upset that she was given a platform. And if Leslie Stahl could have taken her down, as everyone keeps pretending she's just great journalist, why didn't she? Oh, because she couldn't. I mean, it really is that simple. Oh, where are the receipts? There are no receipts to bring in this situation. Marjorie Taylor Greene isn't saying anything wrong. You're mad that she's saying anything at all, so you want to make it to where she can't talk because you're afraid of her. Now, back to MSNBC now. These guys, they absolutely love the idea of standing up and telling you what great journalists they are. I mean, listen to this kind of stuff. Jonathan Lemire on this show talks about this in a way like he is a truth teller fighting for the future, and he has to be hard on these people. It's our only hope. And they didn't do good enough in 2016 because they weren't hard enough on Donald Trump. This is their takeaway from Marjorie Taylor Greene getting an interview.
Whether it's on this show or in my reporting or even tweeting, if I'm like tweeting something that Donald Trump says or advising the fact that he's going to have a news conference, you get a deluge of people who say, well, don't give him oxygen, ignore him. Well, guess what? If we ignore him, he's not going to go away. Yes, we can't play his game. We don't want to dance to his tune. We have to do it responsibly. And that is what we are trying to do each and every day. And I think the media has gotten better at this. I think there were real mistakes made in the 2015-2016 campaign, giving him unfettered airtime with no fact-checking, with no context provided. We as the media fell short. We have gotten better. Are we perfect? No. But dramatic improvements throughout his time in office where he would be not taken in real time. There would be fact-checking provided. There would be context provided. There would be analysis provided. And we would, if we were airing a speech, the chyron at the bottom would be replying in real time those fact checks, or an anchor would dip in and out. Same with the written word, that necessary context to call him out on his lies, to say what he is doing. And the same principle applies here for this Congresswoman, who now is, whether people like it or not, an extremely influential voice in the Republican Party. It is worth hearing from her. We just need to do it in a smart, contextual way.
Yes, that's right. Let's brag about the great job we're doing as journalists, and how wonderful you are, and how great it is that the American people absolutely despise you and don't trust you one bit. Very, very smart play. And lastly, on the Marjorie Taylor Greene issue, I want to ask you this question. I want you to think about this. If a Republican member of Congress, or maybe a mayor or whatever, came out and said what New York City Mayor Adams said about Marjorie Taylor Greene, since we're on that subject, if they came out and said this about a Democratic member of Congress, female, telling them that they better be on their best behavior, what would the reaction be?
New York City is our home, not a playground for your misplaced anger. Although we have no specific threats, people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is known to spread misinformation and hate speech, she stated she's coming to town. While you're in town, be on your best behavior.
You hear the mayor call out Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia by name there. The congresswoman will be in the city of New York tomorrow holding a rally. So the mayor emphasizing that they want everybody to remain calm, and that for no folks who are outside of the city to come in and cause problems. They want this to be as clean, as smooth as possible. But still, the main emphasis, Marty, is that we haven't seen anything out of the ordinary so far. Officials trying to ensure that it stays that way.
I show that clip just to show you and tell you one thing. It is okay for the media and other politicians to disrespect Republicans at every opportunity. Because after all, Marjorie Taylor Greene deserves it. Donald Trump deserves it. They all deserve it. But when the shoe is on the other foot and people are saying negative things to them, they squeal like stuck pigs. And there's a reason for that.